available. But for more on what the uncertainty with this mine means for Franco Nevada, we're joined by Martin Pradier. He's an equity research analyst with Veritas Investment Research. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
So I want to get a sense of, how significant this mine is to Franco Nevada. I read that the Cobre mine represents 15% of Franco Nevada's net asset value and 21% of its revenue. Is that around what you think as well?
Yeah, around 20-25%.
So
yes.
Put that into context for us for Franco Nevada. Would that be the single biggest holding? Yeah.
Definitely the largest holding. Is very significant for them. The reality is that, as Andy said, now we're going into a situation where they will probably, First Quantum will sue the government of Panama, will get into an arbitration court that will take time. In the meantime, there will be a new president in Panama, and you're looking at years before something is resolved. And Panama is not a rich country. So we're talking about at least $7 billion. If you consider also the lost revenue, it's probably more than that. And Canada has 4 million people and 40 billion of debt. They cannot pay that kind of money. So even if you win, the question is how many years before you get your money back?
Right. Okay. Because it was interesting when you were looking at the sort of the challenges that First Quantum was facing there and thinking about what it meant for Franco Nevada at the beginning, you were thinking it might hurt Franco Nevada more with a shutdown at the mine because it is relying on the streaming royalties, relies on the production happening. But then they came to a deal if there was going to be an arbitration.
Apparently, yes. I learned that Franco Nevada has a deal with First Quantum that if there is an arbitration, they will get a proportion of whatever First Quantum receives.
Right.
So they are sort of in the same level than First Quantum because of this deal that they have in place.
But what you're saying is that if there is an arbitration, that might take a couple of years in itself, and then the proceeds or damages that might be awarded because of it, how do you know how much that's going to be or how quickly that's going to be paid out? So this could be really delayed.
This is going to be really delayed. I mean, the best chance is that with the new government, you reach a new deal at some point. But we've seen the violence of the protest. I mean, they've been there like for 20 days. 2 people were killed in the protest. There's really not much love for mining in Panama. And yes, it's going to hurt the country. But I don't know if the next president will have enough power and resolve to, get a deal with First Quantum.
Yeah, you looked in depth at some of the opposition or the reasoning behind the opposition to the mine. Can you elaborate a little bit on what your read of it is? Yeah,
it's difficult for people to understand why, somebody's going to willingly shut a mine that employs, as Andy said, 8,000 people, 40,000 indirect jobs, 5% of the GDP. In a country that is not rich. I mean, people don't earn millions of dollars in Panama. And it seems that one of the things is, during many years, Panama, part of Panama was the canal that was part of the U.S. almost. They couldn't enter there. So there is all this thing, nationalistic thing, about ceding control of the land. And people feel that that's part of what they're ceding control with this contract with First Quantum. One of the things that contract says that the First Quantum has the airspace. They control the airspace, and there is a logic reason for that. And the reason is you're going to blast. You're mining. You don't want a plane to come in. Sure. But some people feel that that's, you're ceding control of that. They have ports. They have the right to have ports there. So, again, for some people, that is their angle. For other people, it's environment. Some people just don't want mining. The land was originally in an area that was protected, and it was an area that was originally from the Indians, so the Indians are also against it. There is this thing about the water. Right now, Panama has a lot of problems with the water. The big ships cannot pass through the canal fully loaded. And of course, a mine does use a lot of water. So some people say, well, we don't have enough water for the canal that has been our live stream. Why are we letting these guys use the water? Okay, you have a contract, whatever. But I mean, the opposition is there for that as well. So, I think that's the easiest problem to solve. You could put a desalination plant and fix that. But, I mean, that could be part of the next deal.
Right, right. Maybe there's a list, a to-do list, in order to get things back up and, or to get that contract in place and to get things up and running again. So when you're thinking about Franco Nevada in this situation, should investors be thinking of Franco Nevada without the Cobre Panama mine? You know, thinking about viewing it that way?
It's almost an option about how much value you put to that.
Right.
Initially, I said 30%. Now that I have the certainty that the Supreme Court rules against it, I'm revising that estimate because I think it's probably going to be lower. I mean, they'll get something, but how much and how many years down the road is really the question.
So you have a sell rating.
A reduce.
Reduce. Okay. Reduce rating on Franco Nevada. And what's your price target then, do you think?
It was 155. I'm reviewing that, but yes.
It's in process.
Yes, because of the news that came out today. Right?
Yeah.
And you know, trying to figure out what is the likelihood that they get something out of this, you know, a few years down the road.